There was an amazing old man come to the church, attending the mass regularly. Once a pastor preached about love enemies. Before he started his homily, he asked, "Is there anyone who doesn't have any enemies?" And then everybody really quiet. But there was an old man, he raised his hand. Well, the pastor thought he misheard, so he didn't pay attention. He asked for the second time, "Is there any person who doesn't have any enemies?" The old man again raised his hand. For the third time, the pastor didn't pay attention. For the third time, he asked again, "Is there anyone who doesn't have any enemies?" The old man raised his hand again. Well, this time the pastor thought, this is not a coincidence. This is very intentional. So, well, he asked the gentleman, "You keep raising your hand. Do you understand my question?" "Yes, you ask whether I have any enemies or not." "Yeah, I kept raising my hand because I don't have any enemies." And then the pastor really got impressed and surprised. Well, at this age, about 90s, he doesn't have any enemies. So the pastor asked, "What is your secret, means, way, so that you will be able to love your enemies?" And then the old man, the gentleman, replied, "Father, they better be not born. So I get rid of all of those. They are at the cemetery now. So I don't have any enemies." Well, I ask myself, are there people who I hate? Of course, there are quite a lot of people I hate. There are quite a lot of people I cannot forget. And they stick in my mind. Even now, well, they stay in my mind. And whenever I think about them, I have hatred, resentment, and also I have the evil desire, for them, better be not born. Get rid of all of those. Yeah, that kind of desire I do have. Well, and also I ask myself again, how many sins I have committed all these years? Well, uncountable as well. I cannot count. Throughout all these years, there are sins that I committed too. Well, in the first reading, Sirach, in the book of Sirach, it is mentioned, wrath and anger are hateful things, yet the sinners hex them tight. Well, we really love to keep all these things in our heart and keep carrying all these things wherever we go. And whenever we have the kind of a certain situation, all these things come up all the way to the surface, and it stirs our heart, and then it destroys our peace. Well, he continued to mention, the vengeful will suffer the Lord's vengeance, for he remembers their sins in detail. And continue to mention, forgive your neighbor's injustice. Well, how can we do that? They hurt us. They destroy our homes. They destroy our relatives. They destroy our friends. They destroy our loved one. They destroy our future. How can I forgive them? It is a very, very hard demands God asks us to do. Well, he continued to mention, could anyone nourish anger against another and expect healing from the Lord? If we keep holding these grudges, how can God heal us as well? He wants us to see, well, we have to understand properly. In the second reading, St. Paul mentioned the kind of a background situation is there are two groups. One group is Gentiles, the other one is Jews. Well, the problem is the Gentiles who convert to Catholics, become the Christians. They are too liberal with the laws. And then, on the other hand, the Jews, they are too strict. They are too scrupulous. And then the problem causes between them. And then St. Paul mentioned, none of us lives for oneself, and no one dies for oneself. For we live for the Lord. Well, St. Paul draw all the intentions and put our intentions to the Lord. But that's what we are called to do. No one is born to be evil. We are created in the image of God. And St. Thomas Aquinas differentiate. We cannot hate the person because the person is created in God's image. But we have to hate. We must have the resentment. And also, we must have the bitterness of what they do, their behavior, their wrong behavior. In the gospel reading, vividly, Peter, he is pretty humble because he was called Satan. Get behind me, Satan, he was called. This time he approached Jesus, smiling like me. Well, Lord, if my brother sins against me, how often must I forgive? As many as 7 times? He also made mistakes. So he approached the Lord. How many times must I forgive? 7 times. He even added 4 times more. Prophet Amos mentioned 3 times, but he added 4 more. But here Jesus added even more, 77 times. That's like 490. Well, Jesus, he really wants us to forgive other people. So I look for the definition of forgiveness. What is the meaning of forgiveness? What is the meaning of resentment? What is the meaning of hatred? On the other side, we want the destruction of other people. On the other side, we forgive what they have done. However, we desire for their salvation. Well, if we look at the reading from last Sunday, that was the fraternal correction. We have to meet one-on-one, and then we have to correct them if they did anything wrong, behavior, correcting their misbehavior, wrong behavior. So we are called to forgive, and also we are called to help one another grow in holiness. So it is hard. However, well, in the gospel, Jesus told us the parable. We owe to God much more than the person who owed us, who sinned against us. We sin against God more than our friends sin against us. We have to realize this, and let us try all our best to show our love to other people, and let us help one another to grow in holiness.